Welcome back everyone, Laure here, and joining me right now is Mystiques. Congrats on your second victory.
Thank you.
You guys improved so much in the early game recently, but sometimes you don't quite manage to translate this into the rest of the game. So do you know why? Did you identify the mistakes yet?
I mean, at the beginning we're a brand new team, kind of, because we started to play this roster since week 3, I believe, yeah. And we also faced the best teams in the league. So like we're kind of new and we didn't know how to like close up the games at that time. But I mean, we have improved, and I think, I mean, versus worst team, like we're ahead right now again, but we were managed to close, but it wasn't like also ideal, in my opinion at least.
I agree with you, and especially since the fact that you're quite new to the team. Regardless of the results, how is the mood between you guys?
The mood is really good. Like even though our score is bad, right? We just came to a conclusion to just enjoy every day and like have a good time, enjoy scrims. Even if everything's going bad, like at least we are like, I mean, even though we are like, what score we are now?
2-9.
2-9,
Yeah.
2-9, yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, for every player, it should be also important that like you have to leave a mark, right? So moving to the future, you will have a secure job, for example.
I agree. Bad results, but still the playoff dream is still alive. So what aspects of the game are you guys working on right now to make this dream a reality?
To be honest, mostly to quit on the stupid mistakes. We do a lot of stupid mistakes on scrims, and then we say, oh, but on stage we wouldn't do that, right? So instead of like stop saying this, we should just start doing it. So this was our approach for this week, and just like removing those mistakes in the early game. And practice has been going good actually, and the mood is fine. I mean, everything's going fine. It doesn't matter. I mean, we can go playoffs, right? But
playoff dream is alive, as I said, and I hope I'll get to have more interview with you guys. Thank you very much for this first one. And for the next game, let's send it over to the analysts.
Thank you, Laure. What a game. The UK boys finally get another win on the table, and what a game it was.
Yeah, it certainly was. I was very impressed with how Exile punished some of the weak laners that we had on the side of Rogue. I felt like they executed upon some of those fights beautifully. I would have liked to see them play a little bit more to their side lanes, use the Ashe, Tahm Kench a little bit more, but how can I discredit them when they had mostly a very clean game?
Yeah, and one player in particular, Cadrel, absolutely popped off, especially in those later fights when he was picking up the Gnar ultimate. Like, his play on that Sylas was just impeccable in the 5v5.
I saw that Baron fight where he got that almost 4-man Gnar armor. Oh, I was like, my boy Cadrel, he's going. But it was good to see XL finally pick up a win, but we need to move on. We're looking towards Fnatic versus Misfits now. And 9-14 brings a lot of changes. We talked about it throughout the day, but for Fnatic, even more so, if we look at their last team composition.
Yeah, I would like to pull up the last comp that they did run back in week 5, because there's so many signature champions here for Fnatic that were actually not really touched, or potentially even power went up for on 9-14. Starting with the Aatrox in the top lane, even though he lost his revive, got a lot more sustain off of that World Ender, and it's just Bwipo's best champion, so he's definitely going to stay at home on that pick. But also, the Lee Sin, the Twist Fate, all of these picks are still very much well and good for Fnatic.
And you look down towards Hylissang with Rakan. Vedi, you were talking a lot about a bot lane mismatch here.
I think that one of the biggest things is that when Hylissang gets his hands on this Rakan, not only is he one of the best Hylissang players, one of the best Rakan players that we have in the league, but it feels like that with so many ranged champions nerfed, this champion is only going to be stronger for him on the current patch. And we've seen throughout the split his ability to set up fights for his team and how he is a large part of how they make these early game plays. He is a big part of their engage tools, and like I feel that he should only be stronger moving on to 9-14.
Yeah, and it's really hard to do Hylissang's job, by the way, because in a lot of these games, the only ways Fnatic actually start a fight is a Hylissang flank or maybe a Broxah like miracle kick. All the pressure is put on him to be able to find these impressive flanks, and the fact that he can do it so consistently and like play it correctly is just really impressive.
And to tie in with what you were saying about the bot lane mismatch, I think that when we kind of look at Misfits, when we talk a little bit more about them, their bot lane is one of their weakest aspects. Whereas for Fnatic, it feels like that this has been one of their most consistent and strongest aspects of the entire split. Rekkles and Hylissang have been dominating bot lanes and have been a reliable source that you can always fall back on whenever Fnatic is in a dire situation.
Well, let's turn the page up to Misfits, because this is a tough test for their new lineup. I come from the European Masters because I've followed these guys over the course of the entire spring split of the European Masters, and now they're here on the top of the LEC stage, and they're going up against arguably one of the best teams in our current league. This is a big, big challenge.
It's really important for them, and a lot of people remember that Misfits ended last week on a high note, but it was by no means all sunshine and rainbows for this team. You know, they got beaten pretty handedly by Splyce, and then in this game against Rogue, it was really not going their way for a long time, but the one constant for them in this match was Dan in the top lane. After getting an early kill, he then picks up a solo kill, and it's this Baron fight where he single-handedly 1v9s and carries Misfits to the win.
And it felt like that we got to see comfort come out from Misfits, because going into this game, it was very obvious that they were going through a 1-3-1 style. They kind of put their bot lane on something that can just hopefully survive and not get punished too hard, while entirely trying to enable both Leader and Dan. And while Leader continued to not have the performance that many fans hoped and expected of him coming onto the LEC stage, I feel like Dan surprised many people because he ended up carrying the weight. He ended up making a lot of the highlight plays that resulted in a very big win for Misfits.
I'm actually really looking forward to the Leader Nemesis matchup as well. Just from a psychological perspective, both European Masters pedigree. Maybe if Leader can attack Nemesis, where Fnatic like to play around, this could be an opportunity for him. He could maybe find out ability to shut down Fnatic. But enough talk. We have a special guest. He's back from an EDM festival. We've got our resident LEC grandpa. Over to you, Quickshot.
Oh my word. New kid on the block and already spitting fire. Thank you very much and welcome to Pride Weekend here in Berlin, Germany. I am Quickshot, joined by Froskurinn, and we're about to jump into Misfits taking on Fnatic. And what a difficult task for the Misfits squad, but they are currently 1 win, 1 loss. It's a better ratio than the previous iteration of this squad.
And it's kind of about figuring out what is the identity of this Misfits roster. And Trevor, you're old. You love old pop culture references.
2 people taking shots in 30 seconds. Okay, let's see where this goes.
I got one for you, though. So I think I figured out like a good analogy for Fnatic's identity. Do you watch the Power Rangers?
Of course I did.
Okay, because you're old.
Yes, Zordon as well as all the Red Rangers. What's their identity?
So Fnatic are a Megazord. When you have all of the pieces that are moving together, they are unstoppable. They are the primary protagonists. They walk through every single opponent. But if the cohesion's not there, if one foot is moving and one fist isn't, everything falls apart. So this kind of points out the strengths and weaknesses of Fnatic. When they're on form, when Bwipo and Hylissang are moving together, being explosive, they look unstoppable. But as soon as one of those pieces isn't synced up, suddenly Fnatic can be exploited.
I have seen enough episodes of Power Rangers across the different versions, from the ninjas to the dinosaurs to the samurai, to know if you prevent those Zords from landing, you cannot get them together to form the Megazord. That's what Misfits have to do today. Can they channel their inner Ivan Ooze? This is only for the old people out there.
Everyone under 30.
Yes,
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's the first villain from the first Power Rangers movie. Literally, not a soul in Berlin has seen this film. And I genuinely am old. Let's get back on screen, though, because Picks and Bans is underway. Misfits have taken away Karma, Lee Sin, Renekton, no surprise, and they first picked Akali.
Yeah, so a lot of these targeted champions that are so potent and powerful for Fnatic, you can go through the list. We know that Karma is important for them because it's a massive flex pick. Broxah on Lee Sin makes people want to play this champion. And Hilly's Renekton, I doubt we'll ever get to see him give it. Renekton is like the big support right now, so it's too powerful. But going back to Leader and Dan, this Akali still technically a flicks. I prefer it in the mid lane, and so I expect it to be Leader's champion, and I expect us to see a lot more Akali. I think the tune-ups that she got on 914 put her in a really good spot, and I hope this starts opening us up away from the Azir Corki matchup and more into these assassin versus assassin matchups.
Yes, please, yes, please, yes, please. I got very tired of Azir Corki over the last week or two, and already we've got the Aatrox and the Ezreal locked in. It is Bwipo's strongest champion. We've covered it in Ready Check, we've covered it in the pregame, and it's once again locked in.
And on 914, it kind of felt like it was a nerf because people are like, he loses the revive aspect of his ultimate. But the thing was, that was so conditional. How many times in a pro game did you actually see the revive of Aatrox being necessary versus actually just having something like the added healing benefit that happens all the time? So this is why it feels like a buff to Aatrox, because you're going to get a lot more use out of that, which is why I think Bwipo will continue to go to this champ.
I'm excited to see how it actually plays out in-game, though. We need to keep a close eye on how Bwipo is going to be playing these team fights along with the rest of Fnatic. And after the discussion around Akali potentially being Leader's champion, Irelia is now locked in. And we just want to call it that it is a flex, but we still should expect most likely that Irelia to go top.
Yeah, and this also now puts pressure on what this third pick's going to be. We saw the Alistar flash that goes very well into Sivir, or you could grab something like a Jarvan. So it kind of depends what Fnatic want to prioritize here if they really want to screw over Neon on this Sivir pick.
Okay, a couple seconds left.
Yes.
On the time hover, and it's going to be the Renekton. Remember, we are playing on patch 9.14, and Renekton will have the ability to pop through some of those shields.
Again, it's about trying to find the matchup that you want. Fnatic say, we will meet you toe-to-toe. We will take both Aatrox and Renekton. We can flex them to both mid and top lane, and we will make sure that we get the exact matchup that we want between Irelia and Akali.
Which matchup do you want to see? And you can go from either perspective here, because there's going to be swip-swapping plenty until those last seconds.
I actually kind of feel that Fnatic will swap based on who has their cooldowns and where their item breakpoints are. So I don't actually expect them to lock into the lanes and to stay there, but to constantly be fluctuating. I know I'm most excited to see Renekton. I think he's very strong. Over in China in the LPL, they've been playing him a lot more into the mid lane position and playing him a lot earlier than the LEC has been to picking him up.
Now, the question I ask you as well is, what's your take on what Nemesis is going to do on either the Aatrox or the Renekton? This is a small departure from the type of champions that I expect or anticipate to see him playing.
I think it's... See, Fnatic are a team that play very well with their experience and their execution, and I think one of the things that Nemesis has slotted very well into is kind of the execution for reactionary team fights. So you think about his Corki, his Twisted Fate, how he's able to use those champions to roam, show up right time, right moment. On Renekton or Aatrox, a little bit harder to do that. I expect him to be on the Renekton. So I'm mostly just looking at his execution in his 1v1 and his 2v2 skirmishes, but still to be that big impact player when it comes to, are we fighting over the dragon? Are we setting up a gank on mid lane? Okay,
I want to see then as for timing, when he leaves the lane, how he pushes the lane. When you don't have that Valkyrie or the Destiny Gate option, you need to be a lot more deliberate, plan much further out. What I am excited to see, Hylissang playing Pyke. I had thought for the longest time the best Pyke players were in G2. I was wrong. They belong to Hylissang. He is the best Pyke in my opinion, and I want to see what he can do to Misfits Gaming today.
I also like the fact that they put Rekkles on Ezreal. Usually they like to team Hilly up with a roaming champion like his Rakan or his Pyke, and then they put Rekkles on something like Karma. It's banned away in this instance, but the nice thing about Ezreal is he's a self-sufficient champion. He doesn't need Hilly to babysit him. Now, if Hilly does play aggressive in the lane, he can follow up. He applies a lot of damage early on because that's how his kit is loaded, but otherwise, he can sit back, he can farm, and Hilly can piece out to that mid lane with the Renekton or Aatrox in it.
Oh, very good. So that versatility and playing around other lanes, while we've come to expect it from Nemesis, the play style is now going to come from Hilly, and we know he's good at it.
Which is why I like the response from Misfits to say, okay, Hilly, if you leave Rekkles, if you try to camp this mid lane and get it going Fnatic style, we've got the Nautilus. We have some hard engage options that can try to force something or follow and also be explosive in teams.
Oh, I really like that. The option to potentially tower dive and a last-second pivot here. Once again, leaning into this Fnatic playstyle of playing around other lanes, multiple lanes, you know, moving all of your resources with the Twisted Fate, for example. Now a Karthus ultimate from the jungle. What is this going to do? It's a very different style of team composition that I was anticipating for today.
I mean, this is actually the G2 composition. You've got a Pyke running around and you have a Karthus on top of it. Think that once we're past lane phase, if Pyke finds anyone out of position, it's very easy to execute them in tandem with the Karthus ultimate. But you have to get to that point, and that's always the big thing about Karthus. Can you protect him long enough where he can actually make use post level 6?
Can you protect this Karthus against Irelia, Xin, Akali? If they are able to start, you know, invading and start challenging the jungle, it's going to be a difficult task, obviously. But what are we anticipating for the opening minutes, and where do you think pressure can come from?
Obviously, all of our eyes are going to be on someone like Kirei because he is on such an aggressive dueling jungler like the Xin Zhao. And now that he's been giving this time and this space, what is he going to do with it? That said, we know that Fnatic always have plans for levels 1 through 2. How do they make use of how they start on the map, where they're setting up, and trying to either split the map or protect Broxah on this Karthus?
And what I really love, this game started with a Power Rangers Megazord analogy, and the composition that Fnatic have put together is literally that. They need to get the Zords onto the Rift, they need to level up and get their items, and then they want to start coming together and putting down the damage from this Renekton, Aatrox, Hylissang, which can be backed up by Karthus or Ezreal anywhere on the map. It is Misfits Gaming taking on Fnatic. block. It is Misfits taking on Fnatic. And I'm very, very, very excited to see these team compositions and how they are going to play out. I did not have in mind the likes of the Karthus and the Xin, and I was always excited to see Pyke. So I want to see how it's going to work out. And one of the things that I obviously want to talk about is the fact that this is a trial by fire for Misfits Gaming. The European Masters Champions, their third game with this composition, these 5 players on the LEC stage, and they're coming up against the most storied, most successful European organization that we've ever had. So what a test. And they've definitely picked a team composition to say, wait, we're going to bring the fight to you.
Yeah, there's no expectations on Misfits, which then could theoretically unlock them to play to their limit, to their ceiling. Again, I'm just excited that they're playing their style. And one of the unique flavors that they bring is that they feel like a team much more likely to play through their top lane, or at least give their top laner more time of day. Again, so much of this top lane meta has been the Kennons, the Nars, the Victors, and it's about pushing waves back and forth, the Nikos. But Dan comes out with like the Irelia and the Jaxes. So these are top lane champions that usually demand more attention, which is why I'm glad to see Kirei starting on the red buff, not only because he can look for level 2 ganks if he really wants to, but he's pathing so he can get a clear gank towards top side.
Okay, so we'll judge his next few minutes.
Or mid lane since Dan's there.
We'll see whether or not Kirei wants to go early or not. But you mentioned Dan's in the mid lane with this Irelia, and it's what you anticipated in draft, that both teams really could flex their respective solo lane champions to face what they believe is going to be the preferential battle, you know? The other thing I want to bring up is my eyes are going to be on Broxah. He's on this scaling jungler, something that needs a little bit of time, needs to build up. We've got a little bit of stats just to show you that when Fnatic have a lead or a deficit at 15 minutes, just the difference in jungle proximity difference, the amount of time he's able to spend around his lanes versus the gold difference, there's significant differences when Broxah is been able to either be tracked or shut down, or opponent junglers have been able to get in Fnatic's lane's face.
And Broxah is kind of one of the defining factors of Fnatic's playstyle, not necessarily on something like Karthus, but again, if you think about his Lee Sin, his Sejuani, these types of picks, and I believe Vedius said it best, he's kind of like, out of our 3 junglers, I'll hold it.
Ooh.
Out of our 3 junglers, Xerxes, Jankos, and Broxah is like our top 3. If Jankos is the mixture of Broxah and Xerxes, Xerxes is the brain, Broxah is the brawn. His ability to force and have such a high level of execution is really what makes Fnatic very explosive. And then post lane phase, you see Bwipo and Hilly really take that role over.
And one of the things I like about this draft that we're seeing is we'd wondered if Fnatic were getting stuck in this playstyle rut. I'll finish this point in a moment because Kirei's coming in from behind.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of point out Kirei's pathing. So he went red, grabbed the Krug, so making sure that he can take down the camp worth the most experience early on so he can get an early rotation or an early respawn of it, then grabbed his double buff and then literally went hunting for Broxah. But actually really good wards from Fnatic early on that have since disappeared, where it was placed at the jungle entrance to make sure that Broxah knew he could just kind of power farm through his jungle and just try to find some safety there. So again, we asked, can they get the vision? Can they protect Broxah? So far, they've done so, but you can see that Kirei wants to go on the attack.
Yeah, he's trying to find a target, and also, like you mentioned, Frosk, Fnatic's early game, especially the opening minutes, is always very well telegraphed. They have an understanding, they have a plan, and the plan this time was get Broxah some safety, get those wards down to prevent him being jumped on. Some early advantages for CS, pretty much across the board for the Misfits lanes, I think, to be expected. And now Broxah and Kirei, they're going toe-to-toe. Kirei's going to jump in, get the 3-talent strike, continues to chase forward. Broxah's got a small level advantage, and Nemesis is the first to get into range. The Skittles will get Kirei low, but not enough for a kill.
And that's good trade back. I'll hold it though. Broxah, yeah, he's just going to disengage. So what Broxah did is he walked down and he hit the Scryer's Bloom, and it didn't catch vision of Zen because Xin Zhao was actually walking over into the area. So Broxah thought that he had enough time that he could secure the scuttle there, but as soon as Xin Zhao shows up, again, Kirei knows that he's the stronger person in this position, especially with Hail of Blades.
Ooh, big pressure onto leader up in the top lane. The wave is pushing into him. The Chains are going to catch Dan, but Kirei is in range to support, so the 2v2 of this mid lane duo. That's a flash forward, not going to find the stun, but it will get a flash out of Broxah, so this could paint a gigantic target on Karthus' back over the coming minutes.
And again, how do they keep him safe? I actually think this is a little bit dangerous for Broxah to approach this wolf camp. It helps that Nemesis does have access to TP, but you could see Kirei was starting to skirt up into that jungle and thinking, okay, I know that Karthus doesn't have flash. I know if I find him, I can kill him, which is why Broxah placed that ward right behind the tower just to catch if Xin Zhao was creeping up towards him.
All right, manages to avoid the death this time round. But we saw there Bwipo, he teleported into the mid lane, and you can see that, Nemesis teleports into the mid lane. Now Bwipo's heading top. So they started with a different mishmash. Now they're going to continue to put this pressure on. Mihiva and Neon shoving in this bottom lane. I'm looking for Hylissang on the map. He was just moving into the jungle once again, placing some wards around that banana bush. And as it stands, Misfits are using this sort of early game strength to their advantage, but it hasn't accrued any kills just yet, just a little bit of pressure on Fnatic.
Yeah, they're trying to find their windows to attack. Credit to Hilly right there. He's got an early sweeper. He walked up into the jungle after seeing that Misfits' bottom lane had disappeared to place vision, and he's already cleared out Broxah's jungle.
We'll see whether or not this is going to help Fnatic out. The point I was trying to bring up just before some of the skirmishes is we've heard several pros talking about how Fnatic's playstyle has kind of been figured out and why Fnatic are struggling to win as convincingly as they were. One of the keys to their playstyle was grouping up, using several players to invade a lane, whether it was with the Twisted Fate, for example, or, you know, Shen in years gone by. Now we've got this Karthus and this Pyke, so from Broxah and Hilly, they can still impact any of the lanes they wish. And I want to see how well or how cleanly they execute this playstyle of support, but from other players.
And of course, that's gated on the level. We talked about post level 6. It's a very, again, G2-esque composition. It felt like G2 made this popular of having Karthus and Pyke, and you can see that they've teamed up, and their ability to find you at any point, anytime, and to kill you. This is a pretty standard back, though. I like the fact that they're bringing Hilly not just on his rotation to place down vision, but to try to help secure this scuttle. But again, anytime Kirei shows up, he's the Zhao. They're forcing the fight because they know they're stronger.
Remember, Broxah has absolutely no flash. First blood is picked up by Kirei. Kiva was flashing forward. Now Nemesis, he fancies himself a shot. The Umbral Chains has bought some time, but Neon has arrived just in the nick. And first play to Misfits.
And this is actually a perfect example of like brain versus brawn, again, in terms of how you define Broxah. Broxah wants to play, he tries to force it, we're still forcing.
Ooh, Hylissang is going to get away for now, but Kirei's very, very low. Rekkles, only level 5 military shots.
They refuse to let this crowd go. And this is like the Fnatic classic, and when it works beautifully, but if it doesn't, it can really burn them, which is why if teams are facing Fnatic, bring early game firepower, bring hard CC, bring these big team fighting ultimates, because you know that they're going to try to do this. Again, he brings Hilly, he's going to make this rotation anyway, he wants to place the vision, but they're just trying to muscle their way into this river on a matchup that can be quite dangerous.
Frosk, I hear some excitement in your voice in terms of the decision-making that Misfits are putting into play here. They managed to get the first kill. They were aware that Broxah was flashless, and for the time being, they've got themselves an advantage. Hylissang unable to find the bone skewer means Neon easily walks away.
And I think some of the issues was also the missing flashes, but again, Misfits know that they're stronger. They're going to constantly be blitzing into this river. Finally, the crab goes down, 3rd time's the charm right there. But this is playing out how it should. I don't think there's any surprises here, just how bold Fnatic are perhaps being and where they think their windows are. But I like the answer from Misfits.
The question I always have when I look at a game that's now approaching the 10-minute mark, where you've got this younger, rookie, much less experienced team, but they've got a composition that comes online earlier. How much of a lead do you want to see Misfits accrue, or what type of lead for this composition to give you confidence that they're not going to lose the game?
I mean, I think I'll always say like 10K would be nice, but don't think you get it.
Well, we'll have to see if he
Interesting reaction.
And the rest of Misfits can. That was a very nice Spider-Man pull to the tower, so the Umbral Chains will not find another target. Nemesis keeps putting some damage down. Multiple stacks there from the Darkened Blade. And while all that's going on, we haven't looked too much at this Leader versus Bwipo fight. Bwipo's going to throw down the Dominus and continue to chase forward, but Leader easily escapes. His flash is still unavailable to him, and he's built himself up around 2 waves worth of CS lead, meaning Misfits 1k gold up.
I do like Bwipo's itemization here on the Renekton to go for the Kindle Gem, not just because the health and the CDR will be nice, but also has double Dorans. Sometimes in these matchups, you'll grab things like your Merc Treads or your Ninja Tabi, which are kind of your big breaking points, but because you're against both an Akali and Irelia, if he commits to one boot or the other, then they just lane swap on him, and he's got the MR facing someone like Irelia or the armor facing someone like the Akali. So I kind of like this as, it's not a super bizarre build, but this kind of pathway that he chose to give him some power in this lane.
Okay, so let's see what it ends up helping out. The rest of the items, Caulfield's Warhammer picked up for Neon along with the BF Sword, Rekkles, Sheen, and Tiek, Nemesis, Kindle Gem, and that serrated Dirk. And Fnatic, they're just still looking for their opportunities. I'm looking at Broxah, he's still a little behind in experience, but still doing very, very well on this Karthus, which does take time.
But we do need to point out where Fnatic have fallen behind, and a big thing is in the CS discrepancy in the bot lane. Because Hilly has been roaming around with Broxah a lot towards that mid lane tower, yeah, we knew that Rekkles would be fine left alone on Ezreal. I'll hold it.
Oh, big fight in the mid lane. Nemesis is going to escape. The Requiem's not going to pick up a kill either. Dan didn't even need to use his flash, so that's Requiem and Nemesis flash for what was a 1v1 effectively.
Yeah, massive cooldowns lost there for Fnatic, and I like this from Hiva and Neon to immediately rotate to kind of pick up a lot of the pressure and get some of this free chip damage on the mid tower. It also forces... Oh, he flashed!
Oh, Hiva flashed over the wall. While that's going on, there's a fight in the top lane. Broxah, he's now flashed backwards. Hiva picks up the kill by throwing down the mines. Now Misfits are running away. The Rift Herald stays alive, and Fnatic, do they fancy a challenge? Hylissang's waiting in the wings. Support is coming from Nemesis. The True Shot Barrage is flying across the map, and here comes Bwipo. Hiva will give his life. It ends up being a 1-for-1 in favor, I think, of Misfits.
Yeah, Big Daddy Bwipo had to come down from the top lane just to help Fnatic out with that one. But that's one of those situations where you're trying to force a little bit too hard if you're Fnatic. Misfits are like, you can't just get this for free. So good heads-up flash from Hiva. In the end, it is a 1-for-1.
Oh, man. The voice in my head is asking, what if Misfits win this game?
I don't get too excited, Trevor.
I know. I'm not going to say they will, but I'm saying, what if they do? XL just took down Rogue at 2-7. If Misfits at 3-7 pick it up, this playoff race gets a lot spicier. We are way far away from that now, but it is the voice speaking to me.
But one of those advantages that Misfits did have in the bot lane has now been shored up. Hiva and Neon went for that rotation into the mid lane, where they picked up the kill onto Broxah, which has now shored up for Rekkles' CS.
All right, leader's chasing for the solo kill. Here comes Hiva as well. Hiva seems to be the catalyst for all kills, and it seems to be this Hex Flash that is setting it up time and time again. I think I misspoke earlier. I mentioned in the 1-for-1, Misfits came out ahead. I actually think it's better for Fnatic because Nemesis got the kill credit. This time around it was Hiva, but now the 3-man stack, pressure on the top tower.
Yeah, and we're doubling down. That's Kirei walking around with the Rift Herald. There it is. Killy, can he cancel it?
All right, we're going to find out the bone skewer. No! The animation completed. Kirei, by the skin of his teeth, gets out Shelly. She's going to give a nice charged up boop into the top lane tower. Leader's going to get that gold. While that's happening, Neon is pushing in the mid lane. All right, teleport is now being channeled. Bottom lane is being pressured as Fnatic are diving down and the tower still stands.
No Requiem, however, so if Hilly and Bwipo try to force this, they don't have Broxah also backing them up. Now, the thing that I want to point out that was huge for Misfits is that majority of all of those resources went to Leader's back pocket there. So once he makes this back, he's probably going to feel very confident on this Akali.
Oh, man, such a good position. The gold
Look at that gold difference.
Is now climbing up to 2,000. So Akali versus Renekton, 1,200 gold difference. Looking in the jungle, 200 advantage for Kirei. And as you mentioned earlier, Frost, Rekkles with his play, he's actually marginally ahead of Neon. Now, where is this teleport coming in? Directly into the top lane. Leader looks for a fight. Hylissang, beautiful skewer into stun. But Leader goes invisible for the time being, and he's about to ding Levin. He's got himself a tower to fight from. I got a little excited, but that was a nice setup from Hilly, unable to complete.
And unfortunately, Fnatic expend a lot of resources to try to make something happen in the top lane. They don't get any sort of flash. They just are able to walk away from it, and now possibly trying to force something mid.
All right, Neon's got no flash, remember. Requiem comes down. The spell shield blocks some of it, but you cannot deny death from below. The dredge line will hold Hilly in place. The tower will take him out. Hiva gets burned alive, though, as Dan, he's going to throw out the ultimate. Now chasing, finds a son to Nemesis. Here comes Leader. He picked up the gunblade in the last fight. Bwipo's the first target, but he gets knocked into the air. Nemesis stays alive a few seconds longer. The life steal not enough to save his life. Rekkles gets jumped on by Leader. He jumps forward, needs more damage. Flashes the Q. It's a double kill for Leader. And at the end of the fight, Fnatic come out on top.
Yes, but they're not going to be able to get anything because here comes the TP from Neon just in time. They're going to clear out the wave, and it's just the kill gold that goes back and forth.
Man, did Leader flash over the Mystic shot?
Yes.
I need to double check if that would have killed him. A very heads up play. The Gunblade 3-1-0, the 1,500th kill. I got so wrapped up in the excitement, I missed it happening live.
And it only took 14 minutes to put it on the board. It's fine. Okay, taking another look at this team fight, there was a lot that happened, very explosive. I do want to give credit to Hiva. He does eventually go down into this team fight, but right place, right time, basically every single time. And it's been such a important member of a lot of the success that's been created here. Hilly doesn't quite connect, I think, on the ultimate in the last attempt for Nautilus here.
And of course, while we're in the replay, Hiva sets up yet another kill. Neon completes it though, 1, 1, and 2. This is going to give Misfits even more pressure in the mid lane. They're still only up 1,000 gold.
The hilarious thing, though, is that we've had, like, complete control back and forth over this bot lane river, but it's a Cloud Drake, and everyone's like, I don't want this. You can have it.
All right, next target. Who's going to go? Heba has Hex Flash, so I'm just waiting for him to jump on another target. But we see that a lot. Teams really deprioritize that Drake if it's not an element that they believe is worthwhile.
It's about what do you choose to spend your pressure on. Misfits have the pressure because they have a numbers advantage over bot side. And again, it's trying to chip away damage at these structures. They'll take the Cloud if it's absolutely for free and there's kind of nothing else available, which is the situation that Misfits find themselves in right now.
Now let's see if Fnatic can interrupt it though, because Kirei is instantly backing away. There was a number of Misfits wards that were placed in Fnatic's jungle. We've crested 15 minutes. It's only that 1,000 gold lead. 7 kills to 5. No towers have fallen just yet. And just to give a little bit more like kudos to Rekkles, he's at 1,500 kills just secured at this game. No other player is even close. The next is around 980 kills over the course of their career. And several pro players that aren't even active anymore, the likes of FLICKR, for example, is still in the top 10 list, along with Froskurinn, for example. Guys that haven't played in EU in years. So very dominant performances from some of our legacy superstars.
Of course, we'll see if he can continue that dominant performance on this game, on the likes of the Ezreal.
Let's see if it can work. Fnatic's setting up for a potential kill here. Requiem is available.
So they're trying to exert their pressure over this Drake. Again, it doesn't feel so much that the Drake is important, just what the Drake represents, which is a potential team fight for Fnatic. If Karthus, of course, gets free access to this, then he can take it for free.
And let's see what he can do. Karthus will be backing up Nemesis now. Nemesis is going to clear out these waves. Here comes the Requiem. Dandan may be the target. Dandan's getting jumped on by Bwipo. HP's going low and by sides. The slice, the dice! And the kill. I think Bwipo is maybe anticipating a follow-up. Forces the flash with the help of Broxah. Gets another kill.
Just one of the brutal things about dealing with a Karthus. Should also be noted the TP discrepancy, the fact that Bwipo doesn't have his. So Fnatic also not pulling the trigger on forcing a fight or trying to contest a big cross-map play because they know that they don't have Bwipo available. So instead trying to focus around, okay, Bwipo, can you look for the all-in? The Requiem's for you. It's not for the 5v5. So I think that's smart.
I'm absolutely loving this game. Misfits, they lost that kill top. It looks like they may end up trading towers if Bwipo keeps the pressure top. But Frost, one of the questions I asked last week was, can you evaluate this rookie squad, this EU Masters, LFL team, and say, did they perform better than what the former players did? And when you see the fight they're putting up with this bold composition, you have to give some credit to the rookie.
That is a loaded question, Trevor.
Of course it is, but it's one of the ones that once the season's over, we're going to look back and we are going to start discussing, did these 5 play better than the previous 5? Well, there's like 3 or 4 different variations.
As you watch Dan die.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2v1, right? That's not a fair fight. But nevertheless, it is one of those things that's just in my mind. And like, we're never going to find an answer. Perspective and opinions are going to be what decides at the end of the day. But I asked 10 minutes ago, Frost, what leads does Misfits need to have with this composition to feel confident? They've only sat
I
at 1,000 gold
jokingly
lead.
said 10k.
I know.
It was a complete joke.
But the main point is, they haven't extended it more. They haven't been able to push that lead further. The towers, they're not even just yet, but that top tower's very low if Fnatic decide to push it. Instead, it's Misfits that are focusing top.
Yeah, constantly playing and exerting their pressure on the map. I like the fact that they're playing around their solo laners and they're basically just using Neon as a hoover to either stall out the mid lane push or pick up free farm, but Hiva and Kirei are doing an excellent job teaming up and exerting their numbers advantage, picking, it was bot, now it's top, picking up free towers. Neon's just like, I'm chilling here, it's fine.
I love that. As a hoover in the middle lane.
He's just a vacuum.
Such a British.
Sivir's like the Roomba of League of Legends.
The Roomba of League of Legends, just a bot, basically. All right, Bwipo's going to be the next target. Hiva's got his flash available. There's Leader going in and out, and this looks to be a pretty clean dive thus far. Stopwatch is used to buy some time, and eventually the kill will be donated to Leader. What is Fnatic doing elsewhere? They're just roaming to protect the tower.
Fnatic are surprised that they're there. Bwipo's surprised that they're there. He thought that Misfits had pieced out, that they had left, but they cleverly went around the vision, saw that Bwipo walk back to the tower and said, we can kill him, right?
Oh, and they did indeed. Very nicely done, very well juggled, at least as far as the aggro was concerned. And Leader quietly growing in power, 4-1-0, as the Roomba is now being jumped on. Hylissang's not done yet, he's looking for a death from below. There's the death, it's from below! Hylissang gets the kill. Kirei will be able to pick at least one back. The wind becomes lightning, and now Rekkles, he used the True Shot barrage earlier, so Hiva will be able to escape with his life yet again, a 1-for-1 trade.
I think it is important to point out, though, that it feels like Broxah on his Karthus isn't picking up a lot of these kills. He's sitting on 5 assists right now. Think of how different this game is if it's the Karthus that's picking up kills or able to use the ultimate as kind of the final execution.
What do you think of the late game? We're getting to 2-3 items now. Do you heavily prefer Fnatic's composition, or You know, what's your perspective?
I feel like this will always come down to execution because there's so many different options of how teams can play it out. Both these compositions are quite flexible in what they want to do, and both of them have access to scaling potential, so I don't think that this is clear-cut either way.
Okay, well, let's see what Kirei and Leader can do. They pick a first fight with Nemesis. Defensive flash from Kirei, trying to get out to safety. Does so. Nemesis does go down in the back. Now Leader's looking for Broxah. No Requiem available. Flash forward from Leader. Broxah goes down. Leader turns his attention to Bwipo. Some snakeskin shoes are on the menu for Misfits. It's Neon the Roomba that gets the kill. Now Rekkles, he's disarmed, he's dashed on, he's stunned down, and he's in trouble. Neon's trying to chase. The ultimate will come up in just a few seconds if they can continue. The Baron is up. It's very early. Are they bold enough to try?
What's tastier, chasing Rekkles and potentially waiting for cooldowns to get that kill, or immediately going to Baron? There's the TP. Baron's going to be the call. Can Hilly and Rekkles hold this?
Leader has just teleported back in on full HP. He's got himself perfect execution available. Nemesis can come up with TP as well. Leader chases down Hilly. The teleport's coming in for Nemesis, but thanks to True Shot Barrage and that TP, Misfits back away. That voice in my head, ladies and gentlemen, continues to ask, what if Misfits do it? It's plays like these that is making it game volume.
And I know that Leader's going to get a lot of the attention here, so I do want to shout out some of the supporting cast here, because I think that there's an excellent CC chain that happens between Kiva and when Dan joins the fight. Dan-Dan's TP to the top side, Kiva is going to grab hold of Bwipo, then the stun basically locks him in place, and Bwipo doesn't get to play out this team fight.
No, absolutely not, and really good closure as well. Dan on the back of the fight, and I think it's really good and it's really exciting to see the level of cohesion on this Misfits squad. They are very deliberate. They were working together in all of the skirmishes. They have been all game long. And Leader is just popping people. But I mean, he's fed. You know, he's what, 7-101 now. Morellonomicon completed. Has had the Gunblade for a while. And he can just execute these squishies on the Fnatic side.
Welcome to EU Masters, Fnatic.
And actually, this was something Excoundrel mentioned as well, was if this player could have had a shot. Now, interestingly, Leader actually did not lane against Nemesis. It was the Akali into Renekton matchup, so he was playing against Bwipo most of the game. But now it's Fnatic. What are they going to do? They're going to find themselves Kiva. He's going to get shut down here, and once again, the Requiem doesn't really find an opportunity.
And I love the fact that Fnatic are able to force the play. So they're kind of in a sticky situation where, because Leader is so powerful right now, Misfits...
Oh, okay, Spell Shield came up. I actually did not see the death from below
He doesn't have Flash.
Yeah, Neon's just going to get blown up. He ran back into the chicken camp. While that's going on, though, there is tower pressure top.
So what I was saying is, because Leader is so strong right now, Misfits want to create pressure with Leader and force Fnatic to respond to him. So what Fnatic have to do is, before he hits the tower, they need to force a play, make a pick. And that's still difficult to do on their composition because their only true hard engage is someone like Hilly. So the fact that Fnatic even found it there is credit to Hilly.
Yeah, very nicely done. Both supports actually being very, very influential in setting up so many of these plays. I think somewhat unexpected when you've got a Nautilus and a Pyke, respectively. But look, the towers were traded. Fnatic will get their first dragon. It is more valuable at this stage of the game. Mountain Drake now at 23.5 minutes. Gold is as even as it's going to be. Towers is even. And it's Fnatic that have the momentum on their side.
I want to say that because they also have access to the Mountain Dragon and it's a Karthus, if Misfits ever do lose vision control, there's always the potential play that Fnatic could get cheeky, use a Blast Cone over the wall with two members, the Renekton and the Karthus, and can actually burn down this Baron with Mountain really well. That said, it's really hard to do because Misfits, again, with Leader, can continue to exert so much pressure. He's a problem that Fnatic don't have an answer to unless they bring multiple members.
All right, Hylissang is trying to be a problem for Leader. And you mentioned the cheeky play. As it stands, it's Misfits being cheeky. True Shot Barrage will fly across multiple members. And oh my word, Nemesis loses 30% of his hit.
Look at Bwipo. He's TPing behind them.
Leader is sitting. Now Leader's picking a fight with Hilly. Bone Skewer doesn't find a target. Baron is going very, very low. Nemesis puts on the world and he's trying to chase forward. Bwipo's inside the pit. He's looking for Kirei. Gets knocked outside. Now Baron is secured by Misfits. The fight's on multiple fronts. Bwipo's the first target. There will be some heal. There's the death from below. So far it's a 1-for-1. Not going to be enough just yet though, as at the end of the day, Hilly goes down.
But the damage has been done. Misfits get the Baron, and huge credit to Leader right there. He zoned away 3 members of Fnatic.
Could Misfits win this game? Berlin is stunned in silence as they get the kills in the Baron.
So they try to force the play. They look for the deep teleport from Bwipo. They try to get behind them. Watch what Leader does. He not only chunks out Misfits, but he dashes back in, and no one can get past this guy. He's zoned away Broxah, Rekkles, and Hilly. So Bwipo goes in. He can't steal the Baron. Misfits gladly stop the Baron. They force Bwipo out of it. They then take the Baron down, turn, and walk away from the fight.
Misfits are looking Fnatic in the eyes and saying, saying, we do not care who you are, we do not care about your history, we're here to play our game and we're here to win. And they've got themselves a very good position to push this forward. Look, it's still only a marginal gold lead, but it does feel like that for every step Misfits, or 2 steps Misfits are taking forward, Fnatic only have 1 in reply. How do you want to see them use this Baron buff? They've got Akali, Irelia, so they've got the possibility to 1-3.
All you need to do is send Leader out into a side lane and have either Hiva and Kirei shadow underneath him. Just escort President Leader wherever he wants to go. He has 1v1 potential on basically everyone right now, and Fnatic would have to expend so many resources to kill him. Now, that said, Fnatic can do that. Hyper mobility between the Pyke. They also have access to the Requiem, but that's all they need to do. Misfits just need to play 2 lanes at once and let Leader do the work.
Okay, I love that. President Leader, escort him.
And this is what I mean by the word shadow. I think that sometimes we use jargon words, but if Leader is Peter Pan, Kirei and Hiva are his 2 shadows, and they're just sitting underneath him, and it's just creating this safety net so that he gets complete access to whatever lane he wants.
Oh, Froskurinn showing your age with a Peter Pan reference.
You said Power Rangers.
I know, but you made me say it. The difference is you opted into that one. I'm very proud of you, young lady. Well, let's take a look what's going to happen here on this bottom lane, because Dan, does he want to pick a fight? Level 15 to 14, Titanic Hydra Triforce. By the way, the tower's gone down up top. Leader jumps back in, looks for Hylissang. He's going so low, he just pops him. That was a 2v3. Leader's not done yet. Goes goal with the hourglass. Kirei picks up the kill. Now Kirei's taking some tower shots. Will survive a few seconds longer. Going to continue to escape. And Dan, he solo kills Bwipo. Misfits are doing it. They've caught themselves a dredge line. Over onto Rekkles. Rekkles chases forward. He kills Hiva in the process.
Oh, okay. So Fnatic managed to weather the storm, but they're still losing objectives across the map, still losing a lot of the fights. Maybe a little overzealous from Misfits there, but still sitting comfortably in the lead.
Grab your friends, grab your family. The LEC Summer Split is not done yet. Excel pick up a win against Rogue, and Misfits are inside Fnatic's base to potentially take down our 2nd best team in Europe. Hylissang's going hunting. I'm looking for some support from behind him. No one will get there in time. And for the first time, Misfits have a sizable advantage in the game against Fnatic.
Yeah, and now they get to go back and spend all of that gold. I remember I was like, you know, no one can deal with Leader, but potentially Fnatic will look at members like Broxah, like Hilly, like Bwipo to take him down. It was all 3 of them that were standing there as Leader dove under the tower. I was like, not today here. So the plan was sound, but Leader is just a really big boy right now.
Absolutely. But it's really good just to see how they're using both the full kit. And also, like, commiserations to the observers. How are you meant to pick which lane to follow when people are dying in every single lane? Can I ask an all quick question, Frost? If I were to ask you to speak to the voice in my head that said, what if Misfits do it? What would you hypothetically say? Think about that while Hylissang's been jumped on. Requiem's going to come down. It's not dissuading Misfits yet. Leader continues to jump forward. Hylissang is taken down. Kirei gets the kill. Leader's found Nemesis, and now Bwipo's running for his life. He's got himself a GA. That's enough to dissuade Fnatic for now. Misfits, rather.
And check out where Dan is. Wasn't even in the fight. He's just walking it up top lane. So you got 2 waves crashing in here for Misfits, top and mid. Full control.
And that means Misfits, they're pushing into the base.
They just rotate.
30 seconds for Nemesis, 20 seconds for Hylissang, and now Froskurinn. The voice in my head wants an answer. Misfits, they're gonna do it. What does it mean?
I don't know, Trevor. I don't want to make any definitive statements. That was a... Oh, okay, it was a Hex Flash. Whew. Hiva scared me for a second.
I know, he's actually scared me all game. I think it was only the 2nd or the 3rd time I saw him flash in for the engage that I noticed the Hex Flash. It's a lot to look at, but nevertheless, 2 inhibitors down, 29 minutes on the clock, and Misfits are on the verge of picking up another victory.
And this is just the fact that Misfits are a stronger team right now. They have more tools to engage, so they're just going to rock into all of these areas as long as Leader is also there and just dominate.
So let's turn the perspective now to Fnatic. We've talked a lot about how Misfits are proactive, they're looking forward. What did Fnatic do to slow this down? They've got supers to deal with. They need to somehow stop the Baron as well.
Unfortunately, because they've lost the ability to face Akali onto a side lane in some sort of 1v1, and they don't have the Sivir, you have something like an Ezreal, they can't play side lane and try to create other pressure points because this happens and Nemesis falls down. And they don't have an AD carry that can wave clear fast enough. So Fnatic are in a very dire situation where their composition doesn't give them a lot of options in this current game state to actually dig themselves out of this hole.
No, absolutely. So difficult situation. You're then hoping Misfits overreach. You're hoping Misfits somehow feel overconfident in Leader 11, 2, and 5. This was the EU mid that was promised. Better late than never, one might say. But absolutely popping people left, right, and center. Now he's in a 1v4. Not even... What?
1v3. 1v3.
1v3. Come on, 1v2. Leader can do it again. Now he's looking for Rekkles. Goes golden with the hourglass. Kiva and Neon join the fight. Now it's 3v3. Boomerang blade tags Broxah. Flash forward from Neon. He sidesteps the Q. Another kill onto Bwipo. It's the GA that's popped. Dan is the tower killing man in the bottom lane. He hasn't been involved in a fight for about 10 minutes because he doesn't need to. He's going to take the third and final inhibitor tower unless Nemesis has something to say about it. A flawless duet stuns him up. Now, in a 5v2, Misfits are pushing into the Nexus towers. Nemesis comes in with a world ender, but his world might just be ending. Eva and the rest of the Misfits squad take him down. Rekkles is the last man standing as the Nexus towers start to fall. Misfits do the unthinkable. Misfits surprise Europe, and Misfits take down Fnatic.
And what is the identity of this Misfit squad? They're the Giant Slayers.
Unbelievable. They did better than Ivan Ooze could against the Power Rangers Megazord. And you can see the look on Rekkles' face. He never got a chance to scale up. This Misfits squad, the full 5-man LFL roster, is 2 wins and 1 loss on our stage.
Credit and congratulations to the entire Misfits roster. Do want to give a special shout out to Leader. I have a feeling that he's probably going to get player of the game. That scoreline was ridiculous. He was the beneficiary of a lot of support, though, set up from his team. Kiva, Kirei, always making sure that Leader was able to capitalize on a lot of these plays that they were setting up. And once this Akali was unlocked, there wasn't a lot of options that Fnatic had.
The thing that I really like is the way in which the team played around the players with the lead, and also the playstyle. They committed to ganking those lanes early. They committed their flashes time and time again. And you can debate whether it was a good call or not, but the main thing is they were on the same page and they played to the playstyle. So all credit to Misfits, they earned this victory, but then you do have to question the Fnatic team composition. It was a little slower than maybe we're used to seeing, and there was opportunities for Misfits to punish them.
And you know, being between the likes of an Irelia and an Aatrox and looking for something like the Karthus, if this is a best of 3, I think that's probably one of the first adaptations that would come out from Fnatic, is they wouldn't choose a jungler that would be that susceptible to someone like Kirei. Yeah, Kirei didn't necessarily, you know, blitz into Broxah and really disrupt a lot of what he was doing. I think he caught him out twice, but giving Kirei that advantage in that type of matchup and then letting Misfits get to a point where they could skirmish, I think that would be the quick fix that Fnatic could grab to say, no. Next time we face this Misfits roster, we're going to give Broxah some firepower, and we're going to make sure that the jungle doesn't get run like this.
I agree. We actually looked at some of the stats when Broxah is behind and the team is behind. It really makes a huge difference. I can see that Leader is currently getting set up with Laure. So while they are setting up, we're just going to talk a little bit more about the state of the league. Fnatic now find themselves 8 wins and 3 losses. With the win that Misfits picked up, they are now 4 wins and 7 losses. They've actually overtaken Rogue. Rogue are 4-7 or 4-8, if I recall correctly. Key player of the game, by the way, Kirei, Leader, and Hiva.
We know who it is.
At LOL Esports. Yeah, we're pretty confident. But it does set us up, Frosk, for the last 3 weeks of the split, of the summer split, as well as tomorrow. Really, really important, because if the top 3 teams continue to drop games, or if anybody drops your surprise losses, all of a sudden your guaranteed spot in Athens is out the door. Like, we don't know who our top 6 are anymore.
I would love a Cinderella story here from Misfits. I still feel that they're more likely in like a blue shell position than they are in like a red shell position. That it's about, you know, they may not be the champions, but they could determine who the champions are, because you can't look past the squad.
Oh, I love it. She starts the game by calling me old and then goes to all these old game references. Thank you so much, Frosco. Laure is standing by with Leader. Let's see what he has to say.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Leader, for joining me. You guys just beat Fnatic. How does it feel?
Feels good, I guess. Now making playoffs is more real than before, so I'm quite happy about it.
I have some questions about the matchup you were in, Akali versus Renekton, because we saw Caps in this situation, and he died very early, and after that he just fell behind. In this situation, you were actually ahead. So what do you think about the matchup overall?
I think he just trolled the early game, because, I don't know, like, I played against a lot of Renektons now, and I think I kind of know how much damage this champion does, but early game, like level 1 to 3, Akali is really fine into Renekton, because he can't really trade back that much as long as you zone him away from the minions. And especially because they had the Karthus, they had no jungle gank pressure on me, so I could play like a monkey, basically. But like, as it gets more levels and levels, especially around like level 7, level 5, like these levels, it becomes quite hard because Renekton gets really tanky and he deals AoE damage in your Shroud, and yeah.
Okay, so if you fall behind in the early levels, your Renekton just snowballs and then you're doomed, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I have some questions about your champion pool because you mostly play assassins. I've been watching you in the LFL, obviously. If the meta shifts tomorrow and you have to play control mages or something else, will you be comfortable still?
I mean, as long as I play like 20 games straight of one champion, I will be comfortable on it, of course. But I think that happening is really unrealistic because assassins should be good into control mages, like traditionally even. So. And there's so many new champions and reworks happening already, so going back to like only Azir Victor meta is really, really unlikely, I think. So I won't have to worry about that.
All right, well, thank you for all these insights. Last question I have for you. 2 weeks ago, you were playing alongside experienced players, and you guys weren't doing that well. Now, a set of rookies just beat Fnatic. How important is synergy in this team?
I mean, like, we started off as a team with probably the worst synergy, probably in the world. But over time, we got along with each other more and more. And then we became comfortable with each other. So we became a good team together and we know how we think. So I don't need to talk as much and give out my thoughts as much as I needed to with the experienced players because I didn't play with them that much. And I don't think we didn't mesh together well as well with the veterans and the rookies because I think they had more of a traditional style of way of thinking, while I think the new players are like more open-minded about everything and willing to take risks, basically.
Well, I hope we can see you guys shine even more in the upcoming weeks. Thank you very much, Leader, for joining me. And we're going to take a short break, and coming back, it's going to be Splice versus Vitality. Stay tuned, guys.
Anytime Kirei shows up, he sits in Zhao. They're forcing the fight because they know they're stronger.
Remember, Broxah has absolutely no flash. First blood is picked up by Kirei. He's got himself perfect execution available. Nemesis can come up with TP as well. Leader chases down Hilly. Bwipo's inside the pit. He's looking for Kirei. Gets knocked outside. Now Baron is secured by Misfits. The fight's on multiple fronts. Bwipo's the first target. There will be some heal. There's the death from below. So far to 1-for-1. Think about that. Well, Hylissang's been jumped on. Requiem's going to come down. It's not just waiting Misfits yet. Leader continues to jump forward. Hylissang is taken down. Kirei gets the kill. Now he's in a 1v4. Not even... What?
1v3. 1v3.
Misfits do the unthinkable. Misfits surprise Europe. And Misfits take down Fnatic.